It's the final.
Let's go.
And we're back. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Hey everyone, we are in a new in-person setup today. I hope that this is all set up correctly. If you are getting any sort of video, audio, technical issues, otherwise, please drop it in chat. This is the first time we've done a setup like this, so
We'll see what happens.
we'll see what's going to happen. Hi, Nick. Good morning.
Welcome to the Aligned headquarters.
I know. Welcome to Aligned HQ in Denver. Nick's in person here. So if you're here, drop a hi in chat. We'd love to say hi. Do we have a question of the day?
Ooh, What is one thing you want to do before the end of the year?
Ooh, what is one thing I want to do before the end of the year? There's so much to do, right?
You only get one.
I only get one? Take time off.
What's that? My boss, he doesn't really believe in that.
Wait. Don't you work for yourself? I don't know.
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah, probably take some time off. Actually, one thing I want to do before the end of the year is bake some holiday treats. I don't know. I haven't baked. I like to bake, and I haven't done that in a long time. So I want to make sure to do some baking before the end of the year.
I like your idea of taking time off.
Hmm.
You know what I want to do? I want to finish my reading. And just start the new year fresh.
Nice.
I know it sounds like a simple thing, but when you have like 17 different things, it gets to be a little bit of a lot.
Do you, what's the current? You have a lot of books in progress.
Oh, 7 powers right now. I was actually telling Nate Nasrallah that we should have coffee and discuss.
7 powers is really good.
Well, just, when you're building a business, game theory only goes so far, and there's so much that gets left up to chance.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of nice when you have a method to the madness instead of just guess and check literally everything.
Yeah.
And so the way it was written at a PhD level, I'm not really sure if I'm in love with it, but it's really good.
Wait, you don't want to get your own dissertation in business strategy? I'm not sure.
Yeah, some of the reading kind of feels like an MBA. Definitely more textbook style. And then you read Anne Hanley.
Oh, she's awesome.
Actually, you know what? Slight sidebar.
Okay.
I want to go and write more long form to go and find my voice in writing.
Nice.
After reading Anne Hanley's Everybody Writes,
she's awesome.
That's a good one.
She's so good. Hey Donnie, hey Fermine, hey everybody else who's here. If you're here, make sure to drop a hi in chat. We'd love to say hello.
So you got a spicy topic for today. Well, maybe the topic isn't so spicy, but you haven't shared your full list with me of what your predictions are.
Right.
So you guys are going to get a really raw conversation.
Really raw conversation today.
So
we're doing 7 predictions of B2B go-to-market in next year. I mean, there's so much changing right now.
So one of my guiding questions for this.
Okay, I'm ready.
I don't know if I told you this.
No, go for it.
One of my guiding questions is, what's true in 2023 that wasn't true in 2022?
That's a good guiding question.
And so I'm curious to see how you, because I never told you that, so I'm curious to see how your list lines up with mine.
Mm-hmm.
And guys, I think this is going to turn into more like a raw conversation, so please get in the comments and add your 2 cents, because it'd be interesting to get everybody's feedback.
Yes.
Because I think this one might be tough.
Yeah. So we've each got a few predictions to share. And, well, do you want to dive in first? Should I?
You know what? I want to lead with my one.
Okay.
I'm not saying I'm attacking what you used to do.
Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, launch right in. What's prediction number 1?
Death of the money pit. Oh, sorry. I mean brand marketing.
The death of brand marketing.
Well, I think brand marketing has really become demand gen. But I think teams are realizing the only way we're ever going to get aligned is if the metrics are aligned as well. Because if I get paid on one thing and you get paid on another thing, we know Freakonomics says that we're going to judge ourselves differently because we're getting paid differently. So we have different motivations.
Mm-hmm.
Why would brand marketing be any different?
Yeah.
And we've seen that. Like, yeah, not everybody can be Coca-Cola.
No.
But they also put money into creative to do it right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you agree? I know. That's why I wanted to start with it.
I mean, it's spicy. I don't think you're wrong in the sense that, like, brand marketing in B2B has just been overtaken by the idea of demand generation. And in some cases, they are sort of one-to-one. I think there's more discipline on demand gen around, like, attribution and measurement and strategy than brand marketing, which is good. I think that's healthy. I think the part that I agree with you on was your joke of the money pit, which is that too often I think B2B companies think of themselves as if they could have a Super Bowl ad. And
go on. Go on.
And they just blow a lot of money on creative and like visibility, and then they create like marketing funnels in ways to try and capture some of the supposed excitement that they have out in the world. And like, yeah, demand gen is a good discipline around some of that, but I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of money wasted on brand marketing that doesn't get you anywhere because it's a lot of like me brand marketing and not...
I mean, advertising.
Right. It's a lot of advertising instead of education, instead of insight, instead of connecting with customers.
You mean change management doesn't start with why you? What? I mean, there's why change and why now that are actually more important than why you? You know, the other part that I've noticed as we've talked to more and more companies, it becomes blatantly obvious when you start reading their content before you ever talk to marketing, which marketers have never got out of the office or actually talked to a customer.
Yeah, I think that's very true.
And I don't think, because I had somebody say to me the other day, well, maybe sellers should just market. And I don't think that's the answer either.
No,
that's why I think demand gen's actually going to get bigger and play a bigger part. And I actually think, as much as I don't want to give Chris Walker credit, I think that his like demand gen owns stage 1, stage 2 in your pipeline is going to get put like thoroughly tested in 2023.
Yeah, because I think the main problem that companies are going to have, which I imagine both of us are going to talk about in other predictions, is the economic climate's changing. And so I imagine... Just a little. Hey guys, have you heard the economy's changing? But yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be a lot more attention paid to wasteful brand activities, whether that's good or bad, right? Because like, if you don't have the right marketing team in place, sometimes good brand activities or demand gen activities are going to be cut. And hopefully that doesn't happen. But there's a lot of, frankly, wasteful advertising that companies do.
Can I poke the bear on this?
Yeah,
I want to hear everybody in the comments. Do you think we're going to get sales managers and leaders being more accountable for shit sales tactics?
Ooh.
Because honestly, most SDRs aren't sellers. They're marketers that are running campaigns. Because if there's no research, if there's no qualification and quantification, they're not selling, they're marketing. And so if we're blasting out campaigns, that's not sales. And the question will be, are they going to be held accountable for that?
That's interesting too, because it's sort of like one of the things that I've been curious about is how like SDRs are shifting inside organizations. We see a lot of companies moving SDRs as a marketing function, where the SDR now will report to some sort of growth person or marketing person. But that seems to be at more of like startups, particularly in SaaS. And when you look at some of the more legacy IT companies, but you know, they haven't shifted their SDRs yet. Those SDRs are reporting to an account executive, or they're reporting into a sales manager. Yet, as you point out, they're doing a lot of basically marketing campaigns, and sadly most of the time poorly constructed marketing campaigns, which is actually my second prediction.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, let's bring it on. Let's hear it.
By the way, Chris Bogus said, 100% Nick. I didn't realize till I left B2B, but I was expected to do email content marketing in my sales role, but with no direction. Damn.
Ooh,
Let's
Chris.
pull that up. Damn right, Chris. It's true. Because actually my first prediction, and then also like prediction number 2, I guess. I don't know how we're supposed to rank these today. So prediction number 2 was automated outbound is going to die.
So when you say automated outbound,
Yeah.
do you mean email marketing?
Especially to like Chris's comment. No, I think
Because I think we need to be clear on this, because I honestly think automation has a place.
it does. I agree.
I just think that nobody actually questioned what that was.
I think what I mean by automated outbound is sort of the spray and pray. And even a level deeper than the spray and pray, where basically you get a list of emails, you create a generic and somewhat relevant message, and then you send it out and you see how many bites can we get from this message that then we can either follow up with a sequencer or qualify into our pipeline and hand off to an AE. I think the problem with that is that this past year, we've seen the efficacy of that drop immensely. And like, yeah, I think it's true in 2021, it was also waning in efficacy, but I think there was too much sort of up in the air. I think people were still trying to like adjust about, oh, how are we prospecting in an all digital world and adjusting to the pandemic? Well, now everybody's caught up this year. And what happened was we just got fire hosed, like the comic relief of like turn on the fire hose and somebody just goes shooting off into the distance.
Could you imagine if Tesla or Google took that approach to a self-driving car? I want you to drive this route at 60 miles an hour or whatever.
Yeah.
Fucking go.
Yeah.
And let's see what happens.
Yep.
Why are you going so slow?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you hit that person? That person shouldn't have been there.
No, I know.
Oh, why didn't you put sensors in for that? Oh, we don't need emotional intelligence in sales. Like, just hit them as hard as you can, as fast as you can, and like.
And again, the problem.
And no conversation. We can't do this.
No.
Like Morgan, like, you know, I have a quota to hit, so you need to go in.
Sure. Yeah. Get back to me. The problem, and I was subjected to this.
I wouldn't blame the salesperson for that.
No, 100%
I want to be
not.
very clear.
Yeah.
That's
Yes. It's organizational. It's leadership. The problem is it works in a vacuum. Automated outbound works in a vacuum. If you think about it, if there was only one person who did it, you'd be golden. If you were the only person who did it, you'd probably have a really high win rate. The problem is everybody's doing it. And the reason, I know you're sort of skeptical, but the reason is like email marketing in the early 2010s when early marketing in the early 2010s when I first did web design and had my own little practice at the time, the automation sequences in B2C were bananas. The open rates, the click rates, the purchase rates were insane. And B2B caught up to that in like 2015-ish. HubSpot inbound model, something like that.
fair enough.
And I think sales sort of started to catch up with that as we had more automation platforms and sequences.
2017, 2019.
Right. And
then
now
COVID.
we're sort of seeing the ends of it. Again, in a vacuum, it works. But the problem is everybody's doing it. And
I actually don't even think that's the problem.
well,
I think you nailed on it, but we never actually went into it when you first started talking. It's like the self-driving car analogy. If I just plan a route and I don't actually test the route and I don't go and validate anything I'm doing before I automate it, it's like, what did Gary Vee say that one time? He's like, the problem is if you don't do your job properly, I'll make sure the world knows.
yeah.
And I think that's kind of crude, but it's like, if I'm running like good conversations through email and I'm sensing, you know, key business cases or key like use cases, tone, like things that are just working, why would I start with the automation instead of starting with a sampling and then automating? Like, I think that's the problem is like, why did we skip Why are we skipping steps?
I think you're pointing in the right direction towards a solution, but like John Foreman had commented that it used to be novel to see your first name in an email like that. So
Yeah.
the essential issue with automated outbound. So I don't disagree with you. I think we do need more relevance. I think we do need more testing. I think we can automate things that we test at a small scale and scale them up. And hold on,
and not at the top.
Right, but the insight piece isn't. The insight piece is more important because the world is overwhelmed. If we didn't have the overwhelm, sure, you could still have more insight and like work. But as John was saying, it used to be a big deal to get an email in your inbox that was personalized. And especially with some of the, now what we would call as like basic personalization that we all kind of laugh at and say, oh, that doesn't really work anymore. Well, that's because everybody did it. Everybody talked about the sports teams. Everybody talked about the colleges.
Morgan,
everybody talked
your
about...
profile is really impressive.
Right, all of those things. Like the reason those things don't work anymore is because they have been overwhelmed. And in a vacuum, they work. But when everybody's doing it, everybody just starts to tune them out. Right.
The thing you guys aren't getting here is he's getting so passionate, he's yelling at me. His volume like tripled. I think we got a spicy topic. But I think one thing just to kind of cap this quick is that if you look at any executive at mid-market or higher, actually, honestly, even SMB, they're getting hundreds, if not thousands of emails a day that are expecting them to do the work. And it's not based on the reporting structure. It's not based on their jobs to be done. Needless to say, it's useless. I think that if more automation focused on director level or lower, especially around the manager, that went about it that way.
Oh, yeah.
I think that they would get more traction because they could talk about the problems as they're felt and seen.
And I do think you're dead on, which is that in this next year, if sales teams did small scale tests to little personas throughout companies or throughout their industry, what small scale being 25 to 50 emails at a time, and see what sort of messaging can resonate and really work on that, I think there's a lot of success. And then you can maybe scale up to a few hundred, right?
So this leads into the next one that I had.
Oh, okay.
And I called it accusation prospecting.
Oh, okay. Say more.
So I get a lot of these in my email and inbox. And they're like, what was the last one I just got? Profitability at Aligned is a real problem. And I was like, in what fucking world is our profitability a problem?
We'll need to mark this episode as explicit when it gets
Yeah,
republished on the...
But it's like, it's insulting when people don't ask and they make accusations of your company. And it's like, I don't walk up to you and say, man, your kid really is ugly. Should we go and take them down to the plastic surgery place to go and fix them? Like, that's basically what you're doing, and it's the most ignorant, rude thing you could possibly do as a seller. We talk about having emotional intelligence, and we talk about being problem solvers, and then yet we walk in pretending to know everything about someone's business and then make crude accusations about their life and their livelihood. If I walked up to you and punched you in the face, you're going to do something about it, and that's about how most sellers... how their emails are coming off. I've talked to VP of sales and VP of marketing, and you heard it just last week. They're like, how would you know this? Like, A, you're wrong, and B, you have access to so much information.
Yeah.
I have people for that. Why wouldn't you go talk to them first? Why wouldn't you validate this? You know, you're a professional conversationalist. Where did that come in?
Do you think some of that is like Challenger gone wrong?
No. I think it's just pure laziness. I think it's like lead gen. Like, it's forced lead gen with, I have a quota to hit. And it's I've been there in survival mode, wondering how I'm going to hit quota, wondering if I'm going to get fired because everybody's getting laid off in the office and I don't know what's going on. And so you're going super direct, because that's what the organization does. That's the culture that they're pushing and forcing upon you, is get to the point. And so make the accusation and see if they correct you. But the thing is, it's been proven that approach does not work. Challenger isn't about being a jerk. challenger is about challenging the way they go about their jobs to be done and linking the dots that they never thought of connecting. Like, holy crap, like supply chain, like if I can't get this piece, it actually is going to screw up my whole business development plan for launching this new product because of supply chain. Not my marketing, not anything to do with how I'm building out this business model or anything else, but supply chain. Crap. I didn't think that was even part of the equation.
That's interesting. It's like I can see what you mean by it being sort of selfish and lazy, by not taking the time to sort of figure out what the business case is, why this company is the right fit, what problems they're experiencing, what jobs to be done. Do you and again I have the sense where it's like
it used to work.
Yeah,
like I did a lot of that prospecting.
Yeah,
especially when emails started to get bigger and people are actually looking at their email. I don't.
Yeah, but I know. He doesn't, guys. Don't send him an email.
DM?
DMs are fine. Don't send him an email.
Anyways,
the thing I continue to think also about is it does come back to like sales culture and organizational leadership, where it's like, we just want you to hit your numbers, go and do. Good luck, basically. And it's so much more than that, and it needs to be more than that.
I thought your fan turned on. I was like, whoa! It told me that your Apple fan would never turn on. Oh.
No. All right, I don't think y'all can hear it. There's a little, there's a little background noise. I think it's Chris has this interesting comment. Chris says, "I'm with Morgan on this one. Most SDRs don't have the credibility to pull off challengers successfully, but their sales leaders train them to act like they know all the problems that the prospect doesn't." Very true.
Ooh,
spicy, Chris. I like it.
Well said. Love it. What did you have next? What did you have? I got my list here.
Okay.
What do you got?
Growth teams.
The rise of growth?
Yeah.
Like being...
Yeah.
Instead of being marketing, sales, customer success, or whatever blend, it's going to be one team, one mission?
I think this sort of bridges into, had mentioned earlier, some like economic conversations that are going on. And this is like the first, I think, that I'm sure we're going to talk about, which is the rise of growth teams. I think in 23, the number of companies that are going to start consolidating the way they look, like organizationally resource growth, it doesn't make a lot of sense to just have a sales team that does sales things, have a marketing team that does marketing things, and then complain about when they don't work well together, and then have success as the like ugly stepchild of the organization at most companies that like delivers, and there's a lot of insights there, but then they
all the pieces at the end.
Yeah, basically they're just like trying to make stuff happen. I don't think that's a responsible way to grow a company in 23. And I think some companies will get better at like the discipline in every unit, but I think a lot of companies that will like succeed really well in this new year, and the shift we're going to see is the rise of growth. There's probably going to be VPs of growth soon enough. Like, I think the CRO has been sort of a bridge position as people have been thinking about, how do we have like a
chief customer offer?
Yeah, like how do we have some sort of like single source of truth, some threading? But you can hop on LinkedIn in 30 seconds and find out that people don't like working for CROs because 90% of the time they're sales led. And so they ignore the marketing function, or they ignore the success function. The CCOs are better, but maybe they don't have the discipline when it comes to sales. And so like growth is a lot of ways to like wrap it together. The only uncertainty I have about this prediction is at what scale, like what size of companies actually make this move. It makes a lot of sense for startups.
My question is, what's the trigger that's going to make it worth doing?
Yeah.
What's going to put their back against the wall that good enough is no longer good enough?
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's going to be aligning to the buyer's journey, because they're realizing that, what the most interesting thing I've seen in the last couple months is talking to VP of sales and hearing them articulate how they want their sales team to sell. and then explicitly stating that they'll never buy that way. And
It's so sad.
Sorry, could you say that for me again? So you will never buy in the way you want your team to sell. And I think that realization, once it hits, is going to be one of the bigger drivers. But yeah, unit economics might be an interesting thing too, because it's super interesting. Like when I was first in sales, we actually got paid on profit, not top line. And so when we price things, we put a cushion in because I wanted to make money.
Yeah.
And I also had to go and plan my routes, and like, because I was 100% commission, like that was all part of the game. And I feel like part of that got lost because whether it's companies just not wanting to share that information, which I think is things change, right?
Yep.
So I don't know if it's going to be which, but I see we got a whole bunch of different comments rolling in. So
Mike Carter had said VP of Growth is a title I'm seeing more and more in early stage SaaS companies that he reaches out to.
Oh, interesting.
And then John Foreman joked, "Don't cold call me. How dare you?" But it's the interesting thing of what you're pointing out too is like, I think that the 101 conversation is do SDRs report to marketing or sales? I think the 201 conversation is how does marketing and sales align? Who do they report to? Some of the CRO. Yeah. I think the 301 conversation is, what if we just blow up the whole org chart and rethink the way that we go to market?
And align to the buyer's journey and not...
Because, if you think about it, in B2B sales, what keeps me up at night is with our clients and also like our own stuff is whoever's buying doesn't care about job titles. They don't care about routing. They don't care about who's in charge of what division. They don't care about territories. I mean, if you think about all of the things we obsess over in creating our go-to-market teams, the buyers don't care about 80 to 95% of it. What they care about is being able to buy well, efficiently.
Without having to talk to you.
Without much of a headache.
And feeling confident in that buying decision.
Exactly. And like,
that's new too.
And it is new, right? In the past couple of years, the whole independent buying motion, the people being willing to do research by themselves at all ages and all positions.
Being able to buy groceries online and have it delivered to your house. Like, if I would have told my parents that, like, why don't you just go and get it delivered to the conversation that would have ensued from that?
But I think that's like how we've designed our go-to-market teams was built for a buying process that no longer exists.
Agreed.
And what I'll be curious to see is in the larger companies, how they adjust to that and when they adjust to that. As you said, the triggers, right? For when their back is against the wall.
Remember that HBR article that was written about Smart out of Calgary?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know who wrote it?
Who?
Brent Adamson.
Really?
I didn't know that I missed that when I read it. So, challenger customer. Yeah, just...
Okay, this is great. We can find it if you want it. DM us. It's a great article about realigning go-to-market teams and thinking cross silos.
Never hit until I was just reading it again. I'm like, wow.
Well, and before we go further on, the last note to kind of capstone the growth thing is, I think there's going to be, in the economic climate, I think there's going to be pressure, mostly on CEOs from their investors or from their board, to just get clear and simple about performance, right? If
like the metrics that they're tracking, or
not just like metrics itself, but like the performance of an organization. And if you think about it, right now, if you have 4 or 5 different teams doing things all by themselves, and you're the CEO having to tell your board or your investors what's going on, sure, it's good to have simple metrics, but wouldn't it just be easier to have like 1 or 2 teams instead of 5? Like, that's what I think. Like, yeah, maybe there's more weight or leverage in a VP of growth position compared to having a CMO, a VP of sales, a blah, 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 blah. But it's mostly I'm thinking about what's the pressure that the CEO is experiencing, and it's how is our company doing? Do we have enough runway? Do we have performance? Is there efficiency? Are
I do
we?
think this is starting to happen, and I'd love to hear like John and a few others comments on it with the role of enablement and ops growing. I think it's not held with weight, and that's why it's failing. Let's just throw more training. Like it's kind of lipsticking the old and calling it new, I think, is the problem that I'm seeing. Teach us how to go and change everything, but do the same thing.
Yeah.
That sounds wrong.
And the spicy thing I have before I want to hear your next prediction, is how enablement and ops, and particularly as I think about like RevOps, how that might actually support more than just sales, but support the entire growth team.
Ooh,
but that's for another day.
Spicy.
That's for another day. So what's your next prediction?
The one thing I keep hearing is sellers aren't stupid. When they see something just works, they change. But what's holding them back from changing? Just the first thing that comes off the top of your mind. What do you think is the biggest thing that's stopping them from changing?
Like leadership, maybe?
Leadership and culture. And especially when you go to bat, you get a great project. You're building your business case, you're working with your champion, you're enabling and building up that buy-in committee, and you're getting traction. But what if your VP says to you, why isn't one of their VPs involved? Why didn't you get one of the CXOs involved? My question would be, who cares? Why does that matter? Is it part of their buying decision? Do we need additional signing authority? Why do we need that level of support? Yeah, before certain deals, that's how it was done. Is that the way it's done now? It depends. But nobody's asking these questions. They're defaulting to what we did 10, 15 years ago. That was the default answer, because that is how it used to be done, especially for transformative deals. That's just how it happened.
Right.
But I think a lot of people, or a lot of leadership, are overselling themselves on what they actually do. Like doing an email implementation and they're calling it transformative. In what frickin' world is that transformative? Email's been around forever. We get what it does. You're doing a Microsoft integration. Yeah, so what? But I think we got to go and realign with reality. And I think that's going to be a big part of what's going to drive 2023 is when leadership re-looks at their thoughts and their, effects on culture and how they're either making or breaking progress.
It's like a top-down change, basically.
But I think it has to be. Because we've all been there. We've all left that job. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's a manager or higher up, that somebody's stealing, like taking credit, people aren't allowing you the creativity and flexibility to do your job, which happens a lot in sales, and I'm sure it happened in marketing.
Oh, yeah.
Although sometimes I wonder if somebody ever checks your guys' work. It's like, who approved this campaign?
I asked that myself. Trust me. Don't worry.
But I think that's what has to happen is that leadership needs to have that open and honest, transparent conversation. And like you said, realign with the metrics that matter. Because if they did, this would no longer be a question of if, it'd be a matter of when.
That's interesting because I think there's also incentives. It's not just like something that needs to happen. I think once again, as the economy shifts around, and particularly in sales tech and some of the like SaaS companies, I think there's going to be a big acquisition role because companies aren't profitable enough. So I think there's going to be a lot of like questionings of from top down. I think they're incentivized to do this. They're incentivized because of the climate, because of the market, because of competition to say, okay, what do we need to do differently here and how can we make that happen? And I think there will be some top-led initiatives or top-down led, whatever it is.
I got what you're saying.
Thank you. Where's my coffee? Jesus.
I told you should have got one. And you're like, no, Nick, I don't need more caffeine.
Anyways, there's some. John Foreman had noted that as enablement, he does support sales, account management, channel, etc. Daisy had a great comment that says leadership likely says because of data and to prove the process, what they're looking for. Yeah. I think it's
Great comments, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, keep on dropping them in. And questions too.
And if you want to tag someone that needs to hear this,
please.
They might not like my last one.
I was about to say, that's pretty spicy.
But I think we're only on 5, so we got 2 left.
Yes.
So it's your
ready
turn.
for mine?
Yeah.
Profit discipline.
Oh, I thought you were. I was like, are you thinking about it right now?
So this is funny. I think we've talked about this sometimes on the B2B Power Hour, but if I had to articulate something that has differentiated you and I in the consulting work we do and the way that we think about go-to-market, I think, exclusively consider profit. And what I mean by profit is what's left over after you've made the sale, you paid the commission, and you've covered your fixed operational costs. What's the net income in the business? What's the unit economics? Does every deal get us more profit, or are we losing money on deals as we go? And the reason I think that both of us have that discipline is because we had to live it. You were 100% commission on sales, charged by profit. I worked for myself for a number of years, then I did economic development. All of the things that we think about is what's the net effect of this? Right? Not the gross effect, not the top line. Oh, yay, we just closed a $2.5 million client. And suddenly it turned
5%
correct.
profit.
Suddenly it cost you $3 million
to
to
implement.
implement.
The story that like really solidified this for me?
No, I don't think so.
So getting out of management consulting, getting out of investment banking, working with other service companies. And to land this big deal, it was a miserable negotiation.
Oh God.
I felt really bad for the seller, but he took it in stride. And it was really interesting. He gave me, beer conversation, and he was explaining to me like why he was negotiating the way he was. And I just didn't know enough back then to ask better questions, or maybe I could have helped him. But he was talking about all the different ways that he was trying to go and adjust things, but not price. So he was trying to stay solid on his price by doing multi-year contracts, changing some of the terms of delivery, like going through different things. Well, what he did, and he never really thought too much about it, is he locked in the price for 5 years and never had quantities listed.
Oh, no.
And when everything shook out, we got called into this Monday morning meeting.
Uh-huh.
And our VP of sales said things that I definitely can't say because we're going to get blacklisted. But like, he basically found out that they were going to have to finance from year 3 to year 8.
Ooh.
Starting at about, it was not much, like 1%. They were going to be at a net loss of just under 30% by year 8. And they had no backing because it was tort law, right?
Sure.
You can only bring the written documentation, and it was explicitly stated and not in fine print.
Whew. I think lessons like that I'm not saying that sellers or marketers or go-to-market leaders don't have this discipline, but too often when you have a big, fat, happy pile of cash sitting in the bank because you got investment, it's very tempting to spend it. And I think there's 2 sides of this, right? I think there's the organizational side, which is how we're resourcing and staffing go-to-market. I
want to touch on that because I think that's why that happened.
Yeah, and
support.
But the flip side is prospecting, and who are we going after, right? So this happens a lot in early stage SaaS companies. I see a lot, which is that they'll get their initial user base and then they'll want to scale up quickly. This happens every single time. And I understand the incentive here. If you're Series A into Series B, what are you thinking about? You're thinking about how to land enterprise customers, right? It is very likely that an enterprise customer may not be profitable. It may generate a lot of revenue for you. But if you think not just from the technology side, but from the staffing side, right? Okay, we bring in this large enterprise customer. It's a $450,000 deal year 1, and it scales to $1.2 million year 2. What sort of success hires do you need to make to have that happen? Do you even have account managers right now? Because if you want to continue to grow your company, you can't have your account executive who closes that deal also serve as account manager for a $450,000 year one and a $1.2 million year two if you also expect them to close more deals. That's a full-time position.
And
let
how do you
alone
scale the rest of the company so that doesn't become a liability because it's 80% of your revenue, and now
client concentration problems.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go to the bank and try to get up my revolving door and say, hey, this client just went to 87% of our top line. And, sorry, what?
Yeah.
I need to borrow more money to.
And that's where there's a lot of hidden costs for closing deals, right? At larger and custom sizes. And I think in 23, let alone because of the economic conditions, but also the pressure in competition in some industries, there is going to be a lot more discipline, I think, for profitability when it comes to sales. I hope.
I like the
I think. Well, because to actually close customers like that, it is very likely that you might break even on a large company. If you think about it, right? It's not just the commission that you get. It's not just the commission the company pays out for the seller. It's also hiring new people to service it. It's probably the time and new hires inside development, because guarantees there's something custom. It's not just a bunch of seats, right? It could be more seats, but then it's cloud storage fees and
cost of onboarding,
cost of onboarding,
servicing,
yes,
cost of renewal and maintaining. Like there's costs everywhere, and depending on how the guidelines are set out for customer success, how many calls are you getting?
Right.
How many emails are you getting? How many people are staying up at night because somebody's texting you saying, I'm worried?
And that's where the profitability discipline comes back, in my view, at a leadership level, which is not just how are we staffing and resourcing new clients and prospecting and breaking in, but it's also laying out a scalable path for the company. Right? One of the reasons that Series B to Series C companies scale so quickly is not because they have more customers, and it's not because they're more profitable. It's because they have a big old pile of cash from investment that they can burn in order to achieve a certain scale of profitability. And there's a big shakeout right now, even in project management suites like Asana, Monday, all the rest of them. Some of them are public, some of them are private. They're not all that profitable, and they don't have that much cash on hand because they used equity financing or debt financing to fund the hires instead of the profitability of the customers. And when everybody starts freaking out about the economy or about what we're going to spend and starts to be more efficient and they're going to start cutting deals out. And then suddenly you're left with the bag. You're like, oh shit, what do we do?
And this is kind of goes back to accusation prospecting and just blind automation. Is, do you know what I realized the other day? Mapping the earthquake for a company.
Yeah.
Is how many companies don't have product market fit and have no competitive advantage. Meaning, I would hate to be in C-suite because they really don't have a legitimate reason to exist other than they were doing it. It looked like it was working, so we did it too.
Spicy, but true. I think.
Well, how do you target for that?
Yeah.
What triggers? So if my competitor, if I'm selling sugar, because this is one of the things I just did the other day for fun.
Yeah.
Is I'm selling sugar.
Yeah.
It's sugar.
It's a commodity.
But if I have more flexibility on my pricing because I pay my suppliers differently, so I have more flexibility, a different 60 day window, so I can actually offer different flexibility to my customer. Well, who could use that? Or if I have more availability because I have different access all over the world, so that the supply chain issues that are affecting most people that aren't relevant to me, somebody will appreciate that. But nobody's asking these questions when we're prospecting. And going back to your point about profitability, is how does that affect the profitability of the customer you're servicing and yourself? And quite frankly, at the end of the day, your customer doesn't give a shit about your shiny object unless it adds value to their day. And we've seen this with all sorts of stuff, that even our tools that we use, that somebody will do an update and you're like, this is cool, but now it's going to take me longer to go and adjust. Microsoft, when they used to do that with Word, and you're like, oh my God, why did you do this? Well, it's newer, it's better. For who?
Yeah, for the engineer who designed it. That's it.
It looks so pretty. Yeah, but it's pretty useless.
It's true. It's super true. So I think that just to put a cap on it, the reason that I bring this up and the reason that this is a prediction for the new year is that there's going to be a shakeout on companies that are not profitable and can't achieve it. And there will be more pressure on sales teams and sellers to find profitable deals. And that is a very interesting dilemma to have.
I really hope it doesn't just fall on the sales
I hope
shoulders
so
again.
too.
Like, the thing I've never understood, and then we can shift right after this, and I'm just going to put out there, I feel for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. That's why I have my, it's 2022, it's no longer okay to suffer. Like, where that all comes from is we take the highest risk as sellers and get none of the reward. And as we get more successful, they take away our reward bit by bit, because sometimes it feels like they just don't want us to actually succeed. So I feel for you guys. You tell me how to make money and then you screw with my money and wonder why I leave. But some of this has to fall on the company, whether it's enablement, support, or whatever. We need the support.
John Foreman says, spoiler, it will fall on the sales team.
Yeah.
I don't disagree, that's for sure.
So are you ready for us to lose like 98% of our audience?
Yes,
hate me forever.
Let's do the spiciest take of them all. What's your final prediction? Oh no. Oh no.
I just want to let you know I love you guys.
Oh goodness, where is this going?
I think sales and marketing, not CS, I think sales and marketing is going to get right-sized. And I think that with the way companies are generating demand right now, without any relevance to the growth of the company, and it's just somebody's ego that's setting numbers, that we're going to see 80 to 90% of sales and marketing get fired or laid off because they should have never had that size in the first place. And it was never driven by profitability. It was never driven by how are we going to provide promotion and a career path for our people. None of this was considered. The only thing that was considered was, I want to make this much money.
Yeah.
And so it was always company-centered. It wasn't buyer-centered. And so we got lopsided. And I think this is why this major correction's happening, is we just lost focus on why we started a company in the first place. Hopefully it was to solve a need in the market.
Not just because it was a cool product. Yeah.
I've sold for a lot of those companies. You know what happens?
I've marketed for some of those companies. Yeah.
It's tough.
It's super tough.
But I think this is why we're going to see a lot of smaller companies really thrive in this environment, because they're more in touch with reality and they don't have the bloat of bureaucracy and like all the politics that are holding them back, and the egos of change management that are going to hold them back from just doing what needs to be done. And I think that of course, it's never them. Like, it's never leadership or management that gets affected in this. It's always the people, boots on the ground. And so my fear is that we're going to see the shrinking, right sizing, whatever you want to call it, the shrinking of sales and marketing teams to service the actual market that they should have in the first place.
I definitely agree.
Do you? I actually didn't think you were going to.
I don't know if I agree with that high of a number, but I think the general direction is right, because, I mean, here we see this all the time. Prospects and clients of ours. What do? They spin up a marketing campaign because they can, because they have a general persona and they think they need to advertise to them, right? Like, there's not a lot of like throughput about, okay, how does this tie into the buying experience or the buyer's journey at every stage? And frankly, it's a lot easier to coordinate that with smaller or more modular teams. And I think the incentive for that obviously comes back to more profitability discipline, the economic climate changing, trying to figure out costs internally. They'll probably fire some people. So yeah, I definitely agree. I think there'll be some shifts. The other thing that I also wonder is, like, there's obviously an upper level to this. Like each person can only do too much work. So the risk of that is unhealthy and toxic work cultures. So it'll be interesting to see.
The same thing that's going on right now.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong.
The high performers get penalized because they're high performers, get paid less because they're making too much.
Mm-hmm.
And so they keep raising the quota. Why? Because the market's changing? No, because they want to incentivize them to sell more.
Sure.
But I think one of the things, hopefully, that's going to get weighed in is utilization.
Mm.
Accountants do it.
Mm-hmm.
Lawyers do it.
Mm-hmm.
Sales not a profession?
Right.
Or is it just not worth...
Say more about
investment?
utilization.
Well, it really depends on your sale. So when I was in transactional environments,
Yeah.
my utilization, my amount selling was high, if not 90% plus, because there wasn't the mental work required to connect dots that nobody could see. You need shoes? I got shoes. Let me hook you up.
I got shoes.
Done, right? Like, what else do you need to say? Hey, like, I noticed that there's this fundamental flaw in the way that you're running your digital transformation. You know, how you set up your ops, and you went and did this major ERP implementation, and it's actually brought really brilliant customer insights that could change the way you go to market, yet you haven't invested anything into your marketing and sales. So literally nothing changed, but everything changed.
Right. That's interesting.
Maybe we should talk.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of work. So you think about the mental capacity that you have, your utilization is probably that of an accountant, which is usually about 60%, 60% billable hours, give or take. And it would depend on the individual, but who looks at the utilization? Who looks at the utilization of an SDR and how many AEs that they can service? Who looks at the size of the marketing team to see how many SDRs need to go and service and qualify the marketing's initiatives? And is it justify the dollars spent?
Yeah. I like the concept too of like billable hours. Because like one of the things we see a lot is that sellers try and maximize their billable hours without doing the work up front to make the most of those billable hours.
It's a hard thing to say because, like,
right,
you're busy.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
You know, it would be ideal.
Yeah.
If you made change when you weren't, but so many professions are just feast and famine. That's just the way it works, and that's why, like John and like the other people I know that are in enablement, why I appreciate them so much, because they play such a big role on augmenting what we do right now, so that we can do more within our utilization without burning out. Like, one of the things that pissed me off whenever I was, really learning how to sell is that the only way to make it was to burn out and to wear it as a badge of honor until it literally almost killed me. And people praised me for it. Even when I was in the hospital, praised me for how hard I worked and the hours I put in. And I'm like,
yeah, that's messed up.
Yeah, I don't need to go and say what I was thinking, but it's like, seriously?
That'd earn us another explicit warning.
Yeah, just like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
And it's because they're not supported. They want you to be the rogue ranger. And nobody in engineering, there's calculations on how many engineers that are in there, IT, healthcare,
utilization rates. Yep.
I even think marketing even has a little bit of that to a certain degree.
Definitely. It's more like, I always think of marketing teams as like agencies, which is like, what's the work we need to fulfill? And so then they just hire people to fulfill that work. So in a way, they're getting there. It's not as disciplined as what you're...
But I think this is how we have to look at it, because like, this is how we scale ops.
Correct. Yes.
Sales and marketing are ops.
Or need it.
What did Peter Drucker go and say for the original, what was the point of a company?
Right. Yep.
To create a market and deliver value. Why is it only ever been deliver value is the part that actually got the attention? Because without the market, like most companies, should just not exist. So if you're not focusing on your investment and the allocation of resources for how you're creating the market, you're destined to fail. And I would say, unfortunately, that's the correction right now.
Yes.
Other than the cost of capital and a few other things.
Yeah, I mean, there's some...
there's a few other things.
Other than those. Well, anyways, 7 predictions. These were spicy today. I liked this.
Did you have any other ones that you didn't mention?
I think.
Actually, if you want to just go through the list and we can compare notes.
So prediction 1 was the death of brand marketing, spicy, in favor of more disciplined demand generation. Prediction number 2 was the futility of automated outbound without testing. Number 3 was the end of accusation prospecting, also known as your baby is ugly prospecting. I think that was your remark, not mine. Prediction number 4 was the rise of growth as a function, a combined team.
Creating a market.
Creating a market. Number 5 was top-down led initiatives. Forced change from the top, given their
leadership getting stuck against the brick wall that they created for themselves.
Damn right. Prediction 6 was profitability will be a part of sales again, or even as the entire go-to-market motion. And lastly, there'll be a big shakeout and resize in go-to-market teams. I do think I have something like prediction 8, but it's...
Okay.
John Foreman, by the way, says accusation prospecting so needs to die. Please make it happen. We'll do our best, okay? The last thing that comes to mind is, and this is more about young companies than more mature companies.
Oh, interesting. You're going a different angle.
So this is more like companies in years 2 to 4.
Okay.
If they cannot position themselves in the market, this is not the climate to be running an undifferentiated company. You're just going to get smacked.
But we strategically partner with our customers.
And what I mean by, even less so than Nick's sarcastic remark of this classic, we strategically partner, a remark that everybody says. I think the problem that most SaaS, the reason it's worked well is because money's been free and cheap. And that's not the case anymore. So if you had a good enough idea that would make a good enough product.
We're going to make the Uber of Uber.
Right. That was strictly a nice to have or like a cool add-on. This is going to be a hard year. And the reason I tie that back to positioning is because positioning itself as an exercise allows you to overcome that, right? It allows you to articulate an insight about why you exist, about who you serve, the market that you help, and the problem that you solve.
I have to go and bring this up.
Okay.
Anybody in sales, why this matters is that should be part of your list building.
Yes.
And nobody talks about it.
It's true.
Why would I go and call... You can call people that are better served by your competitors. Like,
of course.
I don't know if I'd go that far. As long as you're doing them justice and you're not... It's not a parasitic relationship. But
yes.
Like, if you guys don't do that, if your company doesn't do that on your behalf, if they're not focusing on achieving product market fit and they're putting it on you, your company failed you. You didn't fail them.
Right, because positioning is about your go-to-market. It's not about selling or marketing or advertising. It's the whole strategy. It's the whole kit and caboodle. And if you can't do that, you're screwed. And you'll get so long. That's why I say it's 2 to 4 years. You'll get so far, and then you won't be able to go any farther.
Yeah, because a lot of the time it's the founder exhausting their resources because they have clout with the people that trust them.
Yep.
And then they try to go and get beyond founder-led sales.
Mm-hmm. And it's even beyond like the operational side of transitioning from founder-led. It's like if you can't, companies that are unable to position themselves in the market to triangulate an audience, a market, and a problem that you actually solve, the value that you deliver, you're just going to be a nice to have. They're going to look at $20 a month, $70 a month, or whatever, and they say, "Oh, that's cool," and they never buy. Or if they're an enterprise, I mean, good luck with that, Jesus. So if you can't even articulate the small stuff. So I think the reason I bring this up is like the number 8 one is that there are a lot of companies in SaaS that fit that bill. And it's fine when money is free and cheap because you can just go raise more money. But now that it's not, we'll see what happens.
We learn, we adjust our metrics, and away we go. Did we have any other comments or anything we wanted to address before we? Oh, but it's
No.
time.
Somehow we're at the
Crap.
end of the B2B Power Hour. Thanks everyone. Well, yes, thank you for joining this prediction-filled in-person news setup. This is a cool thing we're doing. Do you want me to come join your?
Sure.
Hi everyone.
And
as always,
2022. Almost 2023. It's nipping at our heels.
it's crazy.
I really don't know where the time went, but it's no longer okay to suffer in silence. Thank you, everyone that have reached out and asked for help. We are proud to be able to go and support you and give you the support you deserve. And just know, you don't have to buy anything. You just need to reach out. So get in our DMs, shoot us a comment. We'll make sure that even if it's not us, we'll make sure put you in touch with the right person. Thank you so much. It means the world to us that you keep coming back. And we can't wait to see you next week.
Yes, sounds good. See you next week. Thanks everybody.